Hey guys, welcome back to Bling My Boat. It's Brandon here, and today we're going to get into the technical details on modification number 2, the anchor ties. Let's get to work. So, as I mentioned before, we can take advantage of a part that's already been designed in our SOLIDWORKS Advanced Parts class. This is a great one for learning how to use combined features to create things like hollow parts, but really all I need is one portion of this design. So I'm going to pick the body that I wish to use here, and we're just going to save it out as a new part file so I can begin working on it and modifying it from there. Ultimately, what I'll do is combine this into my part file for the kayak. We're using a lot of multi-body techniques here, but where I want to start with this one is adding a bit of material at the bottom of our boat cleat, which is pretty easy to do. I can just hit the S key on my keyboard, which allows me to go to the command search or the shortcut toolbar. Quick little tip there. And with the move face command that I found here, I'm just going to add a 1/2 inch of material on the base of my cleat. That should give me enough to work with where I can actually cut away a portion of it and create a non-planar contour on the bottom of the part. You'll notice here that this thing measures a little more than 6.5 inches in length, which is a little bit larger than what I need here. So what we're going to do here is hit the W key on our keyboard, go back to the command search and find the scale command. Here I'm going to scale this thing down by about 75% or 25% rather. 3/4 the size of the original, and now we're just under 5 inches. So that should be close enough to what we're looking for here. And the last couple features that I need to add here, obviously some fastener holes. So I'm going to pick from my Hole Wizard specifications. We'll use a countersunk hole here for a flathead screw. You can change your fastener type there if you wish, but I'm just going to pick up a couple 1/4 inch screws at the hardware store to get this fastened to the boat. Now what I'm going to do is just add in a couple sketch points there from the Hole Wizard. And a quick tip here, it doesn't work out in this case because my design is not completely symmetric, but I want to show you a quick tip here, something that I really enjoy using with the Hole Wizard function. If I put in a construction line, pick my 2 points for the centers of those Hole Wizard holes, I can use things like a symmetric relationship to keep it centered about that center line that I've created. In my case though, I'm going to take a different approach. Right? We can enter a dimension at either end of our design. So we'll put in a 1/2 inch dimension there, and we're working in millimeters, so if I want to convert this on the fly to inches, we can just type in the units. And then for the second hole that we're placing here, I want to actually make this equal to the dimension that I've already created. So that's simple to do. Just hit the equal sign there when you're modifying the dimension, and you can pick the other dimension to make it equal. We have one last relationship here, I guess, to add just to make sure those holes stay aligned. We'll make them horizontal. Don't want to miss out on a fully defined sketch there. And it looks like we've got everything we need. So there's our countersunk fastener holes. And now we can start working with this thing in the multi-body design for our kayak. So I'm going to take a similar approach here by using surfaces that I've developed off of the scan data. But where I actually need to start here is by inserting that new body that we created. We'll go ahead and grab the new cleat, convert the units if you wish to do so. And what we'll do is take advantage of the move copy body function. What this allows us to do once we've brought in the cleat is position that new body in a specific location. So again, we'll hit that command search, pretty handy tool. Move copy body is the one we're looking for. And it's pretty simple to use. You just pick the body that you wish to move. You can use either translation or rotation, or you can even add constraints, which are very similar to mates in an assembly. You can pick geometries to get this thing lined up, which I've already done ahead of time. We can position the new cleat and get it right where we want. So approximately that's where I want it. I kind of wanted the top of the cleat facing straight up on the boat, so that gives me what I want. Now I can use tools like the intersect feature to go through and actually remove material from the cleat that we've thickened up. You can see there at the bottom, I've got a preview of the completed contour at the bottom of that cleat. And it's pretty simple to do this. You can take a look at some of our previous videos to show using the slice functionality to create some of these surfaces off of our scan data. But that's all I did here, was create a reference body for using that intersect function to remove material. So real quick, I'll hide the scan data here from the boat. You can see that I've got an intersection between the surface that I've created and the cleat that I've modified. And all we're going to do is remove that bottom profile. So again, use your command search if you're not sure about where the intersect function is located. And I've already got this one removed, but I'll walk you through it real quick. It's very simple. We just pick the two bodies that we wish to intersect, and then you're going to choose how you want to actually create a new body from this. So essentially what you're doing is picking regions that you wish to exclude, and you've got some different visual functions here to show you which ones you've included or excluded. However you want to visualize that, you've got some customizations there you can make. But I'm just going to pick the bottom region of that intersection. That's the one that I wish to remove in this case. Another tip that I recommend, make sure you consume the surfaces if you've used any surface bodies to create that new intersected body. You can just delete the surfaces along with it. So it saves you a step at the end of it from having to delete those construction bodies that you put in using the surfacing tools. So cleat number 1 has already been created. I wanted 2 cleats in this case, so I went ahead and just mirrored it across the center plane that I created from the mesh data. And I think that looks nice. We've got everything we need here. Now the thing that I didn't consider right away is for additive manufacturing, I might have some additional modifications to make in order to get this thing to 3D print well. So if I were to just set this thing on a 3D printer bed, kind of with the cleat portion facing up, I would have a whole bunch of supports underneath the part as well as underneath that cleat overhang, which I didn't really want in this case. Not to mention, the strength of the part could be compromised if I were to pull backwards on that cleat, like in my X direction in this case. The layers are being stacked up in my Y direction, so I might separate the layers if I were to pull on it too hard, which I don't necessarily want. So what I'm going to do is actually use the split command to separate this into 2 bodies. And all I did there was pick 2 parallel faces. We can create a plane right in the center of those 2 parallel faces using the reference geometry tools. Split it into 2 bodies, and now I've got something that I can work with pretty easily. We'll just isolate those so you can see what we're working with once we finish the split. Pretty quick way to get that incorporated. Now the last thing I want to do here, I'm going to end up gluing both of these parts together to actually get it fastened on the boat. But I actually would like to incorporate some kind of a fastening feature here. So we can use a quick little bow tie design, and I'll just lay out a rough shape here. I'm not going to be too precise with it. Once we've created that rough bow tie shape, I can actually use that to cut away material in a very specific way. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Get it dialed in just a little bit here. And now once I take that sketch and use it for an extrude cut, here's a handy little tip for you. You can use the thin feature command to actually cut around the profile that you've created with a specific clearance. So if I were to use like 0.3 millimeters here for the additive process that I'm using, that should be a decent amount of clearance to actually fit those bodies together once I'm finished. And when I cut the material through the entire body, you can see that it allows me to keep all the bodies that I've created. They're separated by a gap. And the last step, of course, I want that bow tie basically to be one piece, so I'm going to combine those bodies together, and I can easily 3D print that as its own body. So isolate it real quick so you can see what we end up with. That's pretty straightforward. So I ended up creating 2 of those, one on either side of the cleat. You guys know now how to do that using a couple of quick tricks there. Now for actually manufacturing the part, we'll take advantage of Eiger here from Mark Forged to lay out the prints that we want to create. So I'm going to take one of the first halves of my boat cleat. Very simple to just lay it flat right on the print bed. So we're changing the orientation now that we've modified the design a little bit, which was the goal in making those final modifications in the first place. And once we're ready, we just hit print, right? We can gain some insight here to where our supports are going to be located, how the layers are going to be created, what our total print time is, and even part cost, right? So pretty simple way to just get everything laid out so I know these things ahead of time. And ultimately, I've got multiple parts that I need to print here. And Eiger makes it really simple for us to just lay all those parts out on the print bed and get an analysis of what that total print build is going to look like in real time. And here's the finished part. Ended up gluing everything together and it worked out pretty nicely. Parts fit together as one. And I'd say the finish looks pretty good on it. So, like I said, we're gonna just pick up a couple fasteners from the hardware store. So I drilled a couple holes in the boat after marking the locations. I was really impressed with the contour fit of the bottom of that cleat. It matches up really nicely to the boat. We have to just put those fasteners in there real quick, and then I can sink them down with a nut on the other side. So starting with something really simple in SolidWorks, we can just get that matched up, create a couple of features, and make it a bit more complex as we go along to get a pretty nice fit of that final design. So I hope you guys enjoyed checking out the second modification with me and learned a couple of things along the way for how you can improve your process in SolidWorks. Be sure to check out the next modification where we've got a little bit of a surprise for you, and we'll walk you through some more tips and tricks as we go along. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you again on Bling My Boat.